What's up, gamers? This is Battle Mallet Podcast episode 51, and I don't know if Jason and Trace have noticed this, but they kept interrupting me, so now they're muted. This is the 51st episode of the Battle Mallet Podcast, the Headsmen's Curse and Voidcursed Thralls. We are here recording on June 6th. My name is Jerod Johnson, and I will now unmute... Oh, I can't unmute them! I guess I'm doing this podcast by myself. And
you have a good time with that. I mean, I don't know how it's going to work out.
Yeah, it'd be great. I can monologue. Tonight, I am joined by Trace Hyde.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
And Jason Tabled Noob Murray.
You're my thrall.
Nothing would make me happier, Jason. Nothing would make me happier. So tonight's episode, we were all caught off guard, I think, both physically, emotionally, financially, by the announcement for the pre-order for Warhammer Underworlds, which is releasing on Saturday as of the time of this recording. So we're going to break this up into two episodes. In this episode, we're going to cover the Headsman's Curse and the Voidcursed Thralls, do our standard Rivals/Nemesis review of that warband and that deck. And that it will be the bulk of the content for the show. But as usual, before we get into the meat, we do want to catch up on what we've been up to since the last time we recorded. So, Trace?
We started a league. We had our first league meetup for
some of us attended.
Some of us were there.
Yep, some of us were.
I would say at least 66.6% repeating of the people on this episode were at that league.
Yep, it was glorious.
There was a lot of glory and some gambling made, which lost me a game. It's okay though. No, I had a really good game with Jason on our first league night. Played a little risk it for the biscuit, like I do from time to time. If I had pulled it off, it'd have been like 6 glory. It would have been awesome. But alas, it did not go the way that I needed it to. And so
what were you playing?
I was playing Domatan, and Jason was playing the Pirate.
The Pirates. Mm.
Nice.
And that's a Beastbound Assault pirate build, and Domatan with
Fearsome Fortress, actually.
So shocking.
Some kind of mid-board. Yeah. Didn't do a whole lot of spells in that one, other than what were on the cards, on the actual fighter cards. So that was my first game, and then my second game was against Justin, one of our new local regulars, and he played his Gnarl Spirit pack into my same Domatan, and he was running Gnarl Spirit pack and Tooth and Claw, and that ended up being a victory for me. Justin was a great opponent. He was just learning we were both kind of just learning the warbands, because that's the first time I had taken Domatan out to run around and try and switch my leader every activation, which was very interesting. But I had a lot of fun with that. I have procured a 3D printer, gentlemen.
It's very exciting.
So there's been a lot of that happening. I have been printing out buildings and cool little things like that, like a madman, for my Madripoor themed Marvel Crisis Protocol board. So that's been another thing that's been taking up my time. I am painting Jason Table Noob Murray's Ephelim's Heffalump and his woozles. So that's been fun so far. That's making nice progress. And then I've also been whittling away at some what's the name? Leagues of Votan models for 40K, for the impending 40K release. So that's really the majority of what I've been doing. Playing a little bit of Diablo too, mixed in there.
Nice.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Just a little bit of Diablo. So Jason, what about you, bud?
First, it seems we'll just mix this in here. I'm just gonna throw my shot because I'm little upset and very envious that the reason that this stuff catches us off guard is because we don't get preview copies from GW. Like, we're just left out there in the cold and then have to scurry around to figure out how to make all this content. But it's fun nonetheless. But, you know, shameless plug. Be really nice to have it early so we could spend, you know, pre-time doing this. But anyway, what have I been doing? I've been, you know, we have the league set up, and a big shout out to What the Hex over there, because I stole their league format and kind of like amended it a little bit for us because we play every 2 weeks. And but the core of it is from them. So thank you guys for posting that so we can run a league. And I really like it. For those that don't know, it's kind of a ladder league. So we don't have to publish a weekly schedule. You can just play anyone in the league. And matter of fact, you could play anyone and count it as your league game as long as you first determine that to be your league game before you start. And it's more about just community interaction and getting there, although we do hand out points for winning. So we're about halfway through week 1 there. A little more than halfway now, but got a couple more games for everyone to get in and get their points. We have an event set up on the 10th, so the release date of all this stuff. We're going to play at the GW store, a little Rivals event there. So we set that up. And then in the league, so we talked about my game against Trace, but then I went and played Jake with the Pirate again. And finally, even though I beat Trace, that was a very, very close game. And I will say some of the stuff in the Pirate deck did not fire. When I played Jake, everything went. It was so glorious to see the deck work and to see, you know, I was able to land attacks with the minions and the monkey, and the Parrot did not die to a stiff breeze. Like, they actually lived. The Pirate still didn't do much, but yeah, it was a fun game, and I got to play against Dread Pageant, so maybe it was a fun game because I got to beat up on one of my loves of a warband. Other than that, you know, I haven't been doing much anything. Like, you know, you're painting my heffalump, but
there's some stuff.
Look at him fishing.
I see you.
No, don't play this game.
Don't play this game. So I've been doing a lot, and really, I came to the realization with 40K coming back around, I can no longer afford to do all of my hobby wants and needs through commission painting and do all my family wants and needs, like take vacations and do all the fun stuff. Money just doesn't go that far. And for those that do have a lot of their stuff commission painted, especially to the level that my stuff gets done, it is not cheap. So to get back into 40K, to do some of this bigger army stuff, I need to get back on the painting game, and training to paint. So I've never painted like test models before. I've always just grabbed my paints and gone. But that method of slap chops out there, you know, Jerod uses just contrast over gray sear. I do own an airbrush, and if you're on our Discord, that was one of my hobby goals, is I actually set up my airbrush booth for the first time in like a year and a half or 2 years. And then I just painted random models to see how those techniques would work. And really, it's all about getting ready to paint some Dark Angels if that day should come. So I slap chopped a bunch of models, and actually I love it the way when you just slap chop them from black all the way up to white. They look phenomenal. I didn't want to paint over them, but I painted a Gwen from, oh my goodness,
the Iron Souls Condemners.
So I painted her, and I try to match my current scheme of my Stormcast, and it was close. And, you know, slap chop worked pretty well on that model. I just had some different colors of gold and different colors of purple that I wasn't happy with, so I've updated those colors so I can try to get them even like match more of my Stormcast Eternals army, and I'm fairly confident that I can do that. Again, that one painted pretty quick. I did it in a single night, and then I painted a Space Marine, and to add to my Crimson Fist Force, there's probably a handful, like I would say 2 units of my Crimson Fist Force that are not painted. So I just grabbed one and tried the slap chop method on that, and that one was an epic failure. So I painted that one, and he was looking so good. I was like, oh, look at this awesome like dry brush up to white, and like it was just looking sweet. And I took the first contrast paint of dark blue that the Crimson Fist are, and I slapped it on there, and I was like, why did I spend an hour slap chopping this bad boy up for that? But in the end, I did save him. Like I dry brushed back up the old way, and he is a very serviceable tabletop painted miniature with decals, and I'm very happy with it. It just like there was extra time, so I learned a lot from painting that model. And then I did a Spider-Man for Marvel Crisis Protocol, and that one was slap chop, and it came out great. I thought, love the model.
Yeah, that one looked really good.
Yeah, thank you. I really liked the when that one came out. It was really quick. Again, painted it in a night. Probably spent too much time on the black, but that's what happens when I paint. And then last but not least, I painted my Hulk, and that was not slap chopped. That was airbrushed. And he's probably, I won't say the best model I've ever painted, but I am the most proud of that model. The green is so green. The depth is perfect. It's exactly the way I wanted him to look. He is not perfect by any means. There are some things in there that I could spend a million more hours on doing, but he is mine and I love him, and he is the greatest thing. So that's what I've been up to. And now I have a whole nother batch of stuff to start painting and experimenting with because the airbrush is still set up. So we'll just continue on this journey, and hopefully 40K is phenomenal and I love it again, and I'll paint some Space Marines and Necrons and Tyranids, and it is what it is. But that's what I've been up to. What's going on in your neck of the woods, Jerod?
Yeah, so not a lot. My kids are swimming year-round swim, and they also do the summer swim team. And my 2-year-old has decided that sleeping past 5 a.m. is for the birds. So I have not gotten really any free time to do any hobby that hasn't cost me like lots and lots of sleep. So I had some June hobby goals that or May hobby goals that just did not happen at all. I do have the entirety of the Combat Patrol for Eldari built. And I think the last time we recorded, I had finished the Guardians. The Wraithlord and Farseer are primed and magnetized. But that's it. The jet bikes are built. So the goal is to get those painted before 40K drops so that I have a Combat Patrol to play with. On top of that, I want to get at least one of the Weird Hollow warbands painted. Yeah. So a lot of not actual hobby done, but I did do some work while I was sitting at the pool watching my son swim over the past few weeks to update our Nemesis deck library. So updated the interface for that, and community shout outs to Mcrat and the wonderful casters over at What the Hex Cast for some feedback. They got kind of a preview release of the new interface and had some feedback that I've since implemented. So hopefully that deck library is going to be easier to navigate. You can click things and it filters by Grand Alliance, by Rivals deck, and by season. I didn't feel like adding 50 buttons to filter by Warband was really necessary. I think if you can filter by Grand Alliance and season, that's probably close enough. So, and that was pretty cool to see it come together. And so I'm working on finishing out the updates there. But that's
it's looking good though. I made a unprompted comment today to you about the new icons.
You did.
They look really sharp. They look good.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. Yeah,
They're getting there.
Yeah, it's more getting there than your Hulk. Your Hulk looks really good, dude. Like those.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to see it in person, but we need to play some Marvel Crisis Protocol soon. I need to play something at all anytime soon, but I want to get smashed by that Immortal Hulk. Anyway.
He does do some smashing, that's for sure.
Yeah. So not a lot exciting happening for me. I'm hopeful that June will turn things around and then I'll be able to get back out and get some gaming in. Otherwise, I'll have to join like an online league or something and play that way. I don't know. Figure it out.
That works out well for you at night.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, when I'm falling asleep at 11 o'clock when the people on the West Coast are signing on to play. Yeah, it'll go real well. So we can stop listening to me not be able to do anything, and we can cut this section off and come back with our Rivals / Nemesis review of the Headsman's Curse and the Voidcursed Thralls Rivals deck. And we're back, and we are here to talk about the Headsman's Curse and the Voidcursed Thralls. So for anyone that isn't familiar, the way that we typically do these reviews for either a Warband or a Rivals deck is we're going to talk about the 3 most important objectives, gambits, and upgrades that you want to see early as you play the game. And then we'll go through kind of some nitpicky things around the board you might want, what we think the playstyle is. We'll wrap things up with a new player rating. And now with a Nemesis pairing or 2 with them. So with that said, we're going to jump into the Headsman's Curse. And when I first started playing Warhammer Underworlds, I didn't really think that the Death Warbands were going to be the ones that grabbed me. I was never a huge Sepulchral Guard player. I was never a huge Thorns of the Briar Queen player. Never really got into the Banshees or Dreppers. But then
Vampires came out.
The Vampires came out. And the Bone Reapers came out. And then Veilmorn came out. And so now I finally somehow have found myself to be like drawn to these Death Warbands. And just the description of this warband really captured me. The idea that they're cursed and they're passing out their curse and condemning you as part of that. There's a giant dude that's just running around mopping heads. And we can harken back to our Silver Tower days when I used the White King who decapitated, and I was forever stealing the 6s from the bonus dice in Silver Tower so that my White King could decapitate people. This Mr. Wielder of the Blade is right up my alley. So this is a warband that has a plot card. We're not going to read everything. We'll probably end up reading everything. One of the major mechanics around this warband is getting condemned counters. And so the plot card just has the rules around that. If a fighter would gain a condemned counter and they already have one, the additional condemned counter is removed. So you can only ever have one condemned counter on a fighter. And then there are 2 rules on the plot card. Justice is served when an enemy fighter with a condemned counter is taken out of action, gain 1 condemned counter. So for the Headsman's Curse, they're gaining the counters in the same way that the Osiarch Bone Reapers, Canaan's Reapers are gaining Bone Tithe counters. So they just kind of belong to the warband. They don't go on any specific fighter. And then well executed. After a friendly fighter's attack action takes an adjacent target out of action, gain 1 condemned counter for each of the following that are true. First condition, that attack action was supported. Second condition, the target was a large fighter. So, just to jump things out the gate, you can get 3 condemned counters if you take a fighter out of action with a supported attack and the fighter was large and they already had a condemned counter. So, and the 3 is important because the Inspire condition for this warband is after a power step, you have 3 or more condemned counters. So with the plot card out of the way, we'll jump into the fighters. We're not going to read everything for sure this time. You can go check out the fighters, the fighter cards themselves on various podcasts. What the Hex has them. They're on Underworld's DB. So it is a 4-fighter warband. They are all move 4. They have different wounds characteristics. The wielder is a large fighter at 5 wounds. And he can fly, and he has a reaction that if he takes an enemy fighter out of action, he can place a friendly fighter that is out of action adjacent to himself, and then they gain a raise counter and 1 wound counter. So that's kind of a new res mechanic. You like stole the curse out of somebody and then brought one of your own dudes back, I guess. And he has a pretty awesome 2 smash 3 damage attack. And then he's got all of his little minions. So the Bearer of the Block, the Scripter of the Sentence, and the Sharpener of the Blade. Bearer of the Block is 2 smash for 2 damage. And he gives Cleave to range 1 and 2 attacks that he supports. And you can't go on guard if you're next to him. So he's...
Yeah, take that, Glissette.
Ooh. Cannot be on guard.
So Glissette is only on her 2 dodge.
Rough. That's painful. And then we have the Sharpener of the Blade. He's 2 wounds. He's like the wheedliest dude, and I'm saving the best for last, I think. He has an action. So it's an action, takes his whole activation, but he gives the Wielder of the Blade a wetted counter, and that increases the damage of that fighter's successful attack actions by 1 for each wetted counter, and then you remove the counter. So you could wet the blade 3 times, and Mr. Wielder of the Blade could be doing a 6 damage attack, and those counters persist until the next successful attack action. So you could just keep sharpening that blade and keep upping that damage.
It's pretty cool because it's successful, and the first sentence there says give this fighter. So if he had an attack action upgrade, or just his attack action, you could do it to him as well. I don't know why you would want to buff a 2 fury 1 damage attack, but it is a really cool way to get an extra damage. And in the formats that we play, Nemesis and Rivals, that's pretty slick.
Yeah, to be able to go to take 2 actions and get a 4 damage attack out the gate is pretty good. But there's more.
There is more.
Yeah, so we have the Scripter of the Sentence.
That's my favorite.
He is just taking names. He doesn't even kick butts. He just takes names. And I don't know what he's reading out to you, but his Furious Indictment is range 3, 2 smash for 1 damage with the Condemn reaction. After an activation step in which this fighter made this attack action, give the target 1 Condemn counter. It does not say successful attack action. So, sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will always give you a Condemn counter.
There you go.
Yes.
So, that is a rare ability in this game where you don't require the successful attack action to do.
And you still get to do your thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So he must have some very nasty words. Any D&D players listening, this man is just persistent, vicious mockery.
Yeah.
Just over and over and over again.
Cutting words.
Yep. Anyway, so on their Inspire, which requires 3 Condemn counters, Mr. Wielder goes to 4 damage.
Ouch.
Yeah,
that is rough. And the Bearer goes to 3 damage.
Ouch.
Yeah. So, yeah. And then, things kind of fall from there. But I'm excited about them. I think they're a little different than the Death Warbands I've been playing. They're not quite as meaty. I don't know.
I think
not
that's
what fighters.
Yeah, like that's what has me interested in them. And the reason I haven't played Death the back half of Underworlds is because you've been playing Death, but I started in Death with Guard, although I never made it to Briar Queen. But they're true. I played a lot of Lady Mournflight. Played a lot of Lady Mournflight, and I will tell you as well, I was never attracted to the models of in particular, oh my goodness.
Dreeper?
What's this this bigger faction?
The Night Haunt.
The Night Haunt. Like they've never appealed to me, but the mechanics of Death have, right? And this is like totally different and just a different style, but still has a lot of those elements. So, like you have a res mechanic, you have, some shenanigans to get tokens and shenanigans to get damage, and we'll get to the cards, but there's some of this very similar flavor of death through it, but it is just presented in such a different way that I'm pretty excited for this warband to try it out. So
Yeah.
I don't think you're alone in that. I think we're all kind of excited to see this one for different reasons. I like the aggro warbands, and this is kind of sits in between like a counterpunchy aggro, and just what I like to do is just big dudes that hit people. So it's kind of a sit in between. Like it's a big dude with some guys that actually can do things, which is kind of a little bit different. Similar to the parrot and stuff like that. They have a role, which is interesting. But it's another big fighter death warband. I like it.
No.
They have a role, but they all add such a significant value to the warband that it's, you don't, even with to compare them to the pirate, like everyone has a value there, but it's like, I have to do it and I may not even do it here. You're given the condemned counter, you're given damage, or I think what really sells me on the warband is the bearer of the block. Like the fact that I have an additional 4 wound fighter that can deal some damage. Like, it's not for me, and I struggle with the large fighter warbands. So if I lose the wielder of the blade, to me, it doesn't all fall apart. Yeah, you're definitely climbing uphill, but it's just really cool design.
Is this the first warband where we've had a 4-3-2 spread? Or a 5-3, a 5-4-3-2 spread?
I believe it is a 5. I think it is the first 5.
5-4-3-2. Yeah.
Because it
Canaan's
normally
goes 6-3-2-2-2-2.
Yeah. Or there might be
Belmorn
one that's multiple
5-4-3-3-3. Yep. Frothgorn and Black Powder are both 6-3.
6-3. 2-2s.
Black Powder is 6-2-2-2-2, right?
Yeah, it's all twos. All twos.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's so cool about that raise mechanic in there. 4-wheeler to the blade is that rezzing a 4 wound fighter would be really like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's still great that he comes back at 3 wounds, but the other warband has done some heavy lifting to take a 4 wound fighter off the board, and then he would just come back. So it's nice that he goes down to 3, and then the other 2 are very manageable, right? Like the other one 2 and the other one being vulnerable. It's really it's well done.
And then his just his static ability of providing supporting fighters cleave is huge.
Yeah.
Especially in light of the other deck that was released simultaneously with this.
Right.
That's asking for a lot of support, and it has a lot of positioning in it. Yeah.
And shields. It puts you on shields.
Yeah. Nice.
Well, what's the objective of all this?
Get condemned counters. I know. Yeah, so key objectives, now that we've talked about the fighter cards and waxed poetical. So Jason, so we're talking cards we want to see early in the game. What are you picking first? What's your first hope and wish and dream here?
I mean, whatever. No, I'm quick to judge, okay? So
you are quick to
I'm
judge.
quick to judge. This is a surge duel. Score this immediately after an activation step if there is a surviving friendly leader. So that's kind of like why I want it early, because I know he's alive. And 2 or more enemy fighters each have a condemned counter. The other reason that I like this is because I don't have to make an attack action and be successful. I don't have to really do anything other than get condemned counters out there. And we've already talked about the scripter that if he just makes an action, you're going to get one. So getting this quick can really get you some sea glory. Hopefully you get multiple condemned counters out there to set stuff up for later. But I want it early and often.
I like it. Trace, what else do we want to see?
Well, this warband has the tendency to gather a crowd. So I'm going to go with that objective. It is called Gather a Crowd, for those who do not follow the pun. This is a surge objective. Score this immediately after an activation if 3 or more friendly fighters are within 2 hexes of the same enemy fighter. So the whole goal of a lot of these fighters and their cards and the objectives and ploys and stuff is to provide supports for each other, and you want to be within 2 hexes of the same fighter to try and set up some of those killing stroke actions with the wielder of the blade or whoever really does. Wielder is just kind of the marquee that does it the best. So just being close to a fighter within 2 hexes, like you want to, that's where you want to be anyway. So it seems like a no-brainer to me.
I like it. Well, I will not judge lest I be judged your objective choices, but I will choose judge lest you be judged. And so this is our end phase that we want to see early. Score this in end phase if each surviving friendly fighter has 1 or more move and or charge tokens. So again, we're going on the theme of things we want to see early. This doesn't require successful attack actions. It doesn't require me to take an enemy fighter out of action. So it's going to get us that seed glory in our first end phase to help us get on our upgrades and then be able to go in and go ham during the second round. All right, so objectives out of the way. We will move on to the gambits that we want to see. And so before anybody else jumps in, I am just going to pick Damning Scream because I can say that and I don't have to horn that out because it's the name of the card. So this is a gambit. It is restricted to the scripter. And this is choose an enemy fighter within 2 hexes of a friendly scripter of the sentence. Stagger the chosen fighter and give the chosen fighter 1 condemned counters. So, Jason, you were talking earlier about getting 2 condemned counters out. Well, Mr. Scripter could go in charge and put 1 condemned counter out with his successful or not attack action. And then he could just scream at somebody and give them another one. And then they're staggered, which is even better. So,
it's
Jason,
okay. It's okay.
It's okay. It's getting there.
So judgy.
So I think the next one that we'll talk about is helping hands. So in the first attack action made by a friendly fighter in the next activation, the attacker is considered to be supported by 1 additional friendly fighter. The reason that I love this is one, we want to land attacks no matter what we're playing. We want to take fighters out of action, and when we take them out of action and we are supported, we can get well executed and get a contempt counter. So that's really why I like this one, because you're never going to have perfect position, so you may not be able to set up support. So helping hands make sure that the support that you need is always there.
You're
Nice.
always supported.
Yep. Many
Always
hands
supported.
make deadly work, according to the flavor text on that card.
So I'm going to pick one, and the one that I am picking is You Must Serve. This is a res card, and we know that we like some res cards. This one's pretty good. This one says, place a friendly chain rasp that is not out of action on a starting hex in your territory. Give that fighter 1 raise counter. Then, if there are 4 surviving friendly fighters, give that fighter wound counters until that fighter is vulnerable. So, as long as your whole warband is alive, other than this one dude you just brought back, the one dude comes back vulnerable.
Yep.
But if it's not, he comes back full bore, right?
Full health. Yep.
So it's a good card. You just get a fighter back in your power step.
and that could be a 4 wound fighter.
Yep. And it could be potentially brought back in such a position to where, if you're playing kind of defensive counterpunchy, you could bring it up in a fighter right next to your dude, and now you're supporting that fighter, and you'll get a condemned counter and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, it's a really well written card in the fact it only can be on the chain rasps, right? So you're not bringing back your leader. It's not restricted to your leader though, so if the leader does go down, you can still bring someone back. And then again, if your opponent has chewed through that 4 wound fighter, and no one else, he's not coming back at full health, which could be a little bit of feels bad. So it's awesome that we got a res card. We've seen them before, and it's just really nice to see the additional text that kind of tempers this card grows in value as the game goes on, as you lose more and more fighters. But it's really well written. Can't wait to bring somebody back.
Right. Yeah.
And it's good. It's good protection. So the reason why it's in this first hand, though, is if it's good protection if you've got somebody who just got killed
that you need
at an opportune time that you need. You can bring
somebody manages to dome the scripter early.
Exactly. Yep.
You're like, well, I kind of need him.
No, he's important.
Yep.
Those are all good and great, and I'm glad that we gave our listeners 3 wonderful gambits to start their opening hand in. But there's really only one gambit that you need, and it didn't make our top 3 list because I was outvoted. But I will not be silent. I will stand up and...
Is that what happened? Or is this just a scapegoat?
Oh, what?
Wow.
Why are you making me a scapegoat? You're the scapegoat. So the card is called Scapegoat, and it is by far one of my favorite cards in all of Underworlds. Because it has so many applications. It's almost as good as a distraction, in my opinion, because it just can be used in so many different ways. So here's the card. It's Scapegoat. Choose an enemy fighter. The chosen fighter has a wound characteristic of 5, unless it would be higher. This effect persists until the end of the round. Give the chosen fighter 1 stagger token and 1 condemned counter. So... wait a minute, you're telling me that this is the best card ever and I'm giving somebody 5 wounds? Like, you're crazy. Well, I'm also giving you a condemn counter. I'm also giving you a stagger counter so it helps me hit you. And I've now made you well executed because you have 5 wounds. And there's nothing on here that says I can't give it to an already wounded fighter. So maybe I've already plinked you for 2 or 3. Now I give you the 5 and you're in 1 shot range. It also has the I don't really care for you trace, so you put that awesome upgrade on from Tooth and Claw that says you cannot be a large fighter. Well, now you're a large fighter and your upgrade's gone. So there's just so many facets to play here. It really is like a utility. But for me, and also, I'm probably scoring an objective. I'm probably killing you. And now that you're a large fighter, I get 2 glory. Like this is like
and an extra condemn token.
Yeah, I'm inspired. Yeah. I'm having my cake. I'm eating it too. Give me Scapegoat. Give it to me now.
I mean, the Night Haunt do have a lot of candles for your birthday cake that you're about to eat. So.
Yeah, that's true. It is a super cool card.
It is very cool.
I'll be curious to see it in play. Can't wait for me to have like a 5 wound Kindle finger or something running around.
I wouldn't give it the Kindle finger because I can only do 1 damage.
Yeah.
Right?
No, fair enough.
But anyone else, there you go.
A 5 wound Narvia or 2 rush.
Right.
That'd be awesome. Cool. So now that we've got the Scapegoat out of the bag, we can move on to talk about those upgrades that we want to see. And Jason, let's just keep your train rolling, buddy.
Well, I'm heavy duty, so
so true. So true.
This is pretty basic. It's +1 damage to this fighter's range 1, range 2 attack actions. The only restriction is it has to be a chain rasp. So, again, I can put this on the sharpener of the blade once I'm inspired. I already have Grievous. I'm sharpening my blade. I have another damage. Oh, wow. Now the sharpener's hitting for 3, maybe 4 damage. Bearer of the Block can go to 4 damage when he's inspired. Like, this is a great utility. And again, nice subtle touch that I can't just throw it on the wielder of the blade. Like, it has to go on a chain rasp. And then you kill him and I bring him back. And now I have my damage again.
It's great.
It's great. This is wonderful. Good, great, wonderful.
Mm-hmm. No yelling on the bus. Trace, what upgrade do we want to see next?
So since damage is so important to this warband, it's probably important for you to be able to hit more accurately. So I went with Guided Blows. You can reroll 1 attack dice in this fighter's attack actions.
That makes sense.
Do you like the guided blow?
I do like the guided blows.
I don't think that Shiok does.
Oh.
That's who's on the card art. He's about to get decapitated.
That's what Shiok said.
Nice. Where's that
Um,
Carthaean? I don't know. They all look the same to me.
So putting this, like, this is not restricted to any fighters, which is great. So you can put this on the wielder or the bearer, and they can have their two smash damage, large damage attacks go through.
Yeah.
Hopefully. So
Nice. Yeah, and then the last one that we want to see is Enduring Protector. Or Enduring Executor. Executor?
There you go. You
Executor?
got it. Sure.
+1 wounds. So
straightforward.
wielder of the blade going to 6.
Straightforward.
Sharpener going to 3. Like, yeah, can't complain about that.
Rescriptor going to 4.
Yep. I don't know if you put the bearer on 5 though.
Yeah, making them large would be tough, but you negate that wound token he's taking if he's coming back to life.
That's true.
I probably am just putting it on the wielder to go to 6. What difference does it make? You're at 6.
Yeah, right.
So
now you need 2.
You want him to stick around anyway.
To take him down. Yep.
I don't think it really like the only math that changes in Nemesis and Rivals really is like if you have access to a 3 damage attack, it's still 2 attacks regardless. But most of the fighters are 2 damage, so now it's 3 attacks.
Yeah,
so,
or
it's still 3 attacks. It was 3 attacks anyway.
Yeah, I'm thinking you've got the one fighter that can do 3 damage, and then another fighter that can do 2.
Oh, okay.
So that would be 2 successful attacks. But if you're on 6 wounds, now you need 3.
I get you.
Yeah, that's kind of my thought there. Anyway, so that covers the cards. We will just keep these heads rolling on down the board. Speaking of boards, what board do we want? What do we think, Trace?
You want something that has a lot of mid-board objectives because you want to be kind of peeking over the line, I think. Maybe not too... You don't want to go deep into opponent's territory. You want to kind of sit kind of neutral with them, I think. So they have decent movement. So they have move 4, so they can kind of get anywhere. So I think anything that's kind of got hexes that are close enough to each other to keep them supporting it within support range of each other easily, and then have the ability to jump across the midline if you have some objectives that you want to do in enemy territory, if you're running something that benefits from that.
Yeah, I like it. And then Jason brought this up in the pre-show, but the fact that the scripter is threat range 7 means you don't have to start him in the front, which is exciting. So play style, I'm going to take this one. We're going to call this reactive aggro, and I think that's one of the reasons that this deck really stands out to me is because it is that play style, which I have grown to love as I play Velmorn over and over and over and over again. So it's a wait and see. Don't push too hard. You don't want to throw yourself out there, expose your own neck too much, let your opponent expose theirs, so that you can create a basket full of bonces.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, nice. Thanks. All right, Jason, you and I just both sat down. We both pulled out our Headsman's Curse warbands because we're both playing it. What are you doing to take me down?
Yeah, so I'm first going to, hopefully you misdeploy the scripter. And if you do, I'm going right after him because that is a easy source of your condemned counters, right? And then if you didn't misdeploy him, maybe you're misdeploying the easiest one, which is the sharpener. But the biggest thing that I have to worry about is I can't miss. And that kind of goes without saying, like you don't want to miss an attack. But given your play style, if I miss an attack, I better have some fuel in my hand to try to get away or mitigate the impending doom that is coming back my way. Because as soon as they have somebody supporting, like that's exactly where they want you to score a lot of their objectives and to inspire and become even more more aggressive. So that's where I'm going. Um, yeah, I'm trying to take out those two little fighters, mainly the scripter if I can, because of the condemn counters.
No, that makes sense. So, and then for the new player rating, we said gold, maybe with a little tarnish on it. And that's because you have to manage those condemned counters, right? Like getting inspired is going to be a big deal. Two of your fighters go from 1 dodge to 2 dodge. They get more accurate, do more damage. So being inspired is going to be nice, but you have to manage those. You have to figure out how to hand them out, kill people with them, and everything like that. And then we have some Nemesis recommendations. So I'm going to kick mine out first here. And these decks will be on the Nemesis deck library soon. So I picked Tooth and Claw. And the reason I went with that is they want supports. They want kind of that additional damage, the additional accuracy, because they want those attacks to land, like you said, Jason. So I'm not taking a lot of the push into enemy territory with that. But I think you have to take some. But, a lot of the kill things, savage fighters, killing people, your standard Tooth and Claw stuff. Because this warband wants to be, right next to you and killing you anyway. So, and then Trace, what did you end up putting together?
I put together a Toxic Terrors deck, but I used a lot of the debuff cards, so a lot of the poisons that provided debuffs to enemy fighters or made them not be able to move as easily. So the card that freezes you in place, and I mean you can still make a move action, obviously, but gives you a move action. And if you're on a starting hex, you can't make attack actions, so kind of removes some of the potential lethality back towards you when you go in and you try and behead somebody. And then I just think those debuff cards in conjunction with the supporting that you get, so the cleave from the supporting bear of the block and stuff like that, I thought worked really well. Having your leader push into enemy territory, like I said, just over the midline, like place your objective just over the midline, but not so deep into enemy territory that you're going to put yourself at risk or put yourself out of the supporting range of your other fighters. I think it could be interesting. So that was what I picked.
Nice. Jason, you got anything to add?
Yeah, so I went the opposite way. I also picked Toxic Terrors, but my deck is, there's only 6 Toxic Terror cards in the Nemesis deck, and I picked kind of the same gambits, like hold people in place, make sure they can't attack, lightened up the objectives and added a couple upgrades just for some elements of poison in the deck. But I struggled with it, and I started with Voidcursed, and I think that there's play there. My initial runs, you're making hard choices because Voidcursed, like you're going to a single shield, right? You're taking away, and you can say, well, you have 2 single dodge fighters, but the scripter is a range 3 attack. I can't take that away, right? So that really leaves Bearer of the Block to be Void Cursed, and the Sharpener, his attack gets less. And I definitely think that there is play with Void Cursed here. I just haven't been able to unlock it. And what really draws me to the Void Cursed, and we'll touch on these as we review that deck, but they have some upgrades that allow for repositioning. They have gambits that kind of do the same thing. So I think this warband really likes that repositioning. I am just not bright enough on the first couple days of getting this to unlock the Void Cursed Headsmen cursed thing. But there's a lot of play. And then other than that, I had a hard time just selecting a deck because they are so unique in their play style. They want to be aggro. So what deck supports that aggro the most? Because I did not want to add stuff that just we're sitting on objectives. I just didn't want to do it. So
yeah, I feel that. Cool. So I think that's going to wrap up the Headsman's Curse. And Jason, you were just talking about Voidcursed Thralls, so why don't you run us through their plot card, and then we can talk about the rest of that deck.
That was almost a good segue, but I dropped the ball.
I know. Classic.
So, Voidcursed Thralls,
Curse
curse me, is a Universal Rivals deck. It has a plot card, so for our championship players, it is plot locked. It is a little bit of a different plot card than we've seen, so let me just kind of read through it or give you the just. At the start of a round, if you do not have a friendly fighter that is Void Cursed, you can select a friendly fighter that is Void Cursed. So that's pretty key because at every round you're at least going to have one person, and there's a lot of triggers in this deck that run off the keyword Void Cursed. Well, what does it mean to be Void Cursed? Well, Void Cursed fighters cannot make actions other than move actions, attack actions, and charge actions. So all that special stuff that may be on their card, or you give them an upgrade to do a special action. No. They only have one thing on their mind, and that is to move, attack, or charge. That's it. They cannot, Void Curse fighters cannot make a range 3+ attack action. So sorry for you. They also cannot be driven back. So that's kind of cool that, they can't be trapped or pushed off objectives. That's where you want to go. And then the last characteristic is no matter what the defensive characteristic is changed to, it is a 1 shield. So for some warbands, it gets a little bit better. Others, maybe not so much.
Some it stays the same.
So that is the plot card. Let's move into this very unique deck and objectives, and we'll trace, what's the first objective that kind of jumps out of this deck for you that we want to start with?
The first objective is Unwitting Guardians. And let me pull it up. I'm not prepared.
I called on him. Damn it.
Sorry.
You need to put your head down, look away, the teacher don't call him.
I'm so sorry. So I chose Unwitting Guardians. Score this in an end phase if one or more friendly Void Cursed fighters are on feature tokens. That seems pretty easy. You get to pick it.
Yeah.
You just pick a dude, make sure he's on a feature token, score his card. It's pretty easy.
Pretty easy. Seems like a good one to start off with.
Mm-hmm.
Jerod, do you have anything better than that?
I do.
It's
So
not
I
better.
picked just different. I chose Surrendered Will. So this is Surge. Score this immediately after an opponent's activation step if one or more enemy fighters are Void Cursed. So I didn't see anything in the plot card about making fighters Void Cursed, so I hope I had a good reason for picking that card.
Opponents? What?
Yeah. Yeah. If one or more enemy fighters are Void Cursed. Yep.
It's crazy.
I guess I'm praying for the mirror.
Yeah, there you go. I think there's some tools in here that will allow us to achieve this easy surge.
I certainly hope so.
Okay, so that leaves me with unceasing imperatives, right?
It does.
Okay, good. I'm in between screens here. So this is end phase. Score this in end phase of each surviving Void Cursed fighter from one or more warbands. Each has one or more move and or charge tokens. So turn 1, if it's just your one fighter, that's probably bam. Look, we moved him. We made him Void Cursed. We moved him onto objective, and I scored 2 glory in the end phase.
Nailed it.
Successful.
Yeah.
Nailed it. But Surrendered Will may get in the way because now we given a Void Curse across the board.
Well, if they haven't moved your charge, you just kill them.
There you go. Just kill them. There you go.
Easy. Yeah.
So what gambits are going to help us along this adventure, Jerod?
Yeah, so I'm gonna break from things here. We didn't actually pick this one. I'm gonna do 2.
Oh my goodness!
And
Here we go.
This is, I know, right?
Oh,
this is what happens when it gets started. All right, so the one that I picked is Reshaping Snare, and this is choose a fighter on an objective, a fighter, or in a snare hex that fighter is Void Curse. So could be a friendly fighter, could be an enemy fighter, We don't know. But, and Jason lobbied for this card, and as I get more and more sleep deprived, I think I'm falling to the void here. And I'm just going to go ahead and call out Reshaping Burst as well. So this is another gambit. Choose a Voidcursed fighter, roll a magic dice for each fighter within 2 hexes of the chosen fighter. On a roll of a focus, that fighter is Voidcursed. So you've picked your Voidcursed fighter. You have moved them onto an objective. And then you make them explode with Void all over the opponent.
See, I'm actually going to go backwards, right? So, because now you're thinking we're on the same wavelength. I'm going to take that first fighter that made Voidcursed, right?
Yep.
I'm going to run them as far back as I can on an objective. And I'm going to secure my 2 glory.
Yes. I'm with you.
Then I'm going to take another non-Voidcursed fighter, and I'm going to run them to another objective that is preferably in the center of all your fighters.
Yep.
And then I'm going to hit them with
the
Reshaping Snare. And then I'm going to play Reshaping Burst. Nice. And everyone is Voidcursed turn 1, and everyone rejoices.
That's right, because we're now all part of the Gestalt Alien Overmind.
Perfect.
Yes.
And just for the listeners in the pre-show, like when we kind of went through this, that's all I said. I go, guys, I don't care what you're picking. My goal, if I'm playing Voidcursed, is to get as many things Voidcursed on turn 1. So I'm just taking every gambit. I'm taking every upgrade that hands out Voidcursed.
Yeah.
So now that we got that PSA out of there.
We did.
Well, in case you all missed on your giant plan to get everybody Voidcursed in the first place, hopefully you have a couple Voidcursed fighters adjacent to some other folks, so you can use the one that I picked, which is Voidcursed Assault. Each friendly Voidcursed fighter makes the following attack action. Yes, it's an attack action for multiple fighters in the power phase, which is awesome. It is a 2 smash, 1 damage, range 1 attack with Reshape. What is Reshape, you might ask? Reshape is if this attack action succeeds, the target is what? It's Voidcursed.
Voidcursed.
Yes.
Nice. Yeah.
So you get Voidcursed. You get Voidcursed. Everybody.
Nice.
It's a really good card because we don't have a lot of out of sequence attack actions.
Exactly right.
That's right.
The last one that we kind of put on the top 3 before Jerod threw us, just way out there and picked one for a 4th one was Zealot Imperative, and this is a domain, so it's +1 dice to friendly Voidcursed fighters attack action, and it persists till the end of the round, or until another domain is played. Oh, I'm sorry. It exists till a successful attack action is made by a friendly Voidcursed fighter or till another domain is played. Plus dice is always good, and the nice thing about this domain is it specifically calls out friendly Voidcursed fighters, so you're not giving it a benefit to all those other Voidcursed fighters on the other side of the board.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone Voidcursed. I'm so happy. I'm so happy about that. Okay. Moving on to the upgrades. What?
It all came together.
It all comes together. It's like the perfect hand. Like I'm mulliganing. I'm going to mulligan for all these cards, right? No.
Yeah.
But onto the upgrades. Jerod, are you going to pick like 7 upgrades now?
No, because this is in the first time in the history of ever for us doing these Rivals reviews, we actually all picked the same 3 upgrades.
We did.
So as the timing progressed, we did all actually become part of the Gestalt Overmind and became Voidcursed Thralls. So it's great. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm feeling the Surging Power.
Oh, nice.
Which is the upgrade that I'm going to talk about. So when you give this upgrade to a fighter, pick 1. Crit Grievous 1 to this fighter's range 1 and range 2 attack actions, or this fighter is Voidcursed. So if the fighter's already Voidcursed, then they get Crit Grievous 1. If they're not, now they are. So another way to make more fighters Voidcursed.
More fighters Voidcursed.
Shocker.
Yeah.
Shocker.
Okay, Trace, what's your next shocker?
I really like for my fighters to stick around. So I am choosing Unnatural Resilience. This card cannot be given to large fighters. See previous conversation about other warband. -1 damage to a minimum of 1 to range 1 and range 2 attack actions that target this fighter. The restriction is what? It's Void Cursed.
Nice.
So you need to put it on a Void Cursed fighter. But the cool thing about this is, in relation to what Jason just talked about a few minutes ago, is you do what you call it, scapegoat on this fighter. Boom, thing goes away. So just things to remember with large fighters.
Things to remember. Excuse me. And then my the third one is Refashioned Reactions. As I'm pulling up the wrong one. This upgrade is a reaction. Use this after another fighter's move action or attack action if that fighter is not adjacent to this fighter. This fighter makes one move action that must end adjacent to one or more fighters. This reaction cannot be used more than once per round. That's the sad part of it, because I could just love to bounce around everywhere. But this is really cool. Like, for those long-term players, it kind of a little bit has a quick thinker feel to it. The nice thing here is if you have this upgrade on and someone charges you and is standing next to you, you can't react, so they will be able to attack you, unlike quick thinker. But the nice thing here is it's just another fighter, so it allows me to reposition someone on the board. They could have a charge token, they may not have a charge token. Get them out of dodge, get them in for supports, you name it. This is a really versatile card that just requires that you stand next to someone, whether that's friend or foe, is your own decision. So really, really like that one. I think and that card in itself, and there's another one that's Refashioned Priorities, which is similar, but you have to stand on an objective. Those two upgrades by themselves have me toying with Headsman's Curse, because like getting the big guy repositioned to take more swipes, I think is really, really powerful.
This one is not restricted to a Void Curse fighter.
That is true.
Those were not, yes.
Yeah.
But I do have to talk about a fourth one, because I want to be like Jerod. And I'm going to call out Singular Reshaping, only because I think this is another cool card, much like Scapegoat from the previous Warband. This card, this upgrade, that says instead of giving this card to a friendly fighter, you can pick an opponent. And this is the first time where we've ever had an upgrade that I'm like, I'll pay this glory, but I want you to have it. That opponent chooses a surviving fighter in their warband and gives this upgrade to the fighter. This fighter is now Void Cursed. Yes, they get to pick the fighter, but if you're playing against, I don't know, the new Farstriders, well, sorry, you don't get to make your bolt action or bolts shooting attack. You may not get inspired this round. So sorry for you. Pick any one of them that you would like. And also too, you can give it to, like, if you're trying to get more of your fighters Void Cursed, just give it to your fighter and you're Void Cursed, and it's fantastic. And I just think it's a cool design element that I'm now playing with your warband with my cards.
Nice.
So that's the deck. Our selections, boards, like always, it depends on what warband you're picking. Your boards are mostly dependent on the warband. Our play style, and I think we should just coin this one here at Battle Mallet, is what we like to call tag aggro. Tag you're it. As the theme of this whole segment has been trying to get everyone Void Cursed, you want to be very aggressive with this deck, but there may be times where you don't want to kill a fighter that is Void Cursed. So you're going in and you're tagging and you're making them Void Cursed and you're killing another fighter, because some of your scoring requires them to have a Void Cursed fighter or lots of Void Cursed fighters, because then you could score to reshape the realm where everyone's void cursed, and I've got 4 glory, and I'm going to win.
Yeah.
But if you do line up against me playing this Rivals deck, Jerod, how are you going to take me out?
So if you void curse my fighter, I'm gonna go in and get them killed and make them so that you can't ignore me.
I'm just going to ignore them. I refuse to kill your fighter.
Then that works for me.
Because he's going to kill your void curse fighter.
Yeah. The other thing to keep in mind is that this is putting everybody on one block. So, for a lot of warbands, it may be moving them from 2 defense dice to 1. I think just about every warband has access to cleave now in some form or another. So you could take somebody that, like Glissette, or, if we want to go way far back, like Snurk Sourton. Not that you would ever void curse him on purpose, because then you can't do the whirly gig. But you get all these fighters that are regularly on 2 and 3 dodge. Now they're on 1 block. So just keep an eye on that. And then I don't know, play keep away, I guess.
Don't
get tagged.
I just love that element, like the control element. I'm gonna mess with your plan by getting people void cursed. It's so much fun. I wasn't even thinking of Snurk. Like, like tag Snurk. Oh, sorry, Snurk. You can no longer move or do anything. Like,
you just gotta sit there.
Yeah.
Yep. It's good. So, Trace, what a new player rating. What do you give this deck?
It's a silver. It definitely has a cohesive purpose to it, and all the cards help to push you towards that purpose. But it is not the simplest thing to try and wrap your head around, like you said earlier in the podcast. Like, you were having some issues trying to figure out how to best utilize the cards, and I think really for this, it's just going to take some practice. Like, it's cohesive, but it's complex. So there's a lot of complexity in how to like get this to fire correctly. So silver.
Silver. I would agree with that. It is a cohesive deck, but maybe one of the trickiest ones we've seen. So when we move into Nemesis, I have a question. Like, what warbands do we want to play? But more importantly, do you think that this deck best fits a horde or a smaller elite warband? Jerod?
So, I think it can go both. I think about the elite warbands that are already on 1 defense die. So it's probably not going to hurt them too bad. Crimson Court, for example, right? Like, most of them are on 1 defense die anyway. And they're going to be able to handle like the fact that they can only do range 1 and range 2 attack actions already. Yeah. But as we were building out our decks, I actually made a Grincrack's Void Court deck.
Ooh, Void Court. I like it.
Yeah, right. So, these are a lot of fighters that are already on 1 block. Mm-hmm. They all have a lot of range 1 and range 2 attack actions. They naturally want to be in and around enemy fighters. They get a lot for support, like within their own deck. And then I think this has some really nice surges that they can use to use that dub reaction on Grincrack that aren't always available from the quests. So mm-hmm. I think it is viable for either horde or elite. I think it can work with either, because you're either going to end up with a lot of little void curse fighters, playing tag, or you're going to end up with 2 or 3 really beefy void curse fighters playing tag. Just depends on what your goal is and how you like to play, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. Trace, are you of that mindset?
Yeah, I think you can go either way. I think the biggest thing to remember is, while there's a lot of cool cards in this, you can really hamstring yourself. So thinking about somebody like Drom, for example, he has an extra action on his card. If he is void cursed, you cannot do that extra action. So you can't make somebody charge you or you can't force one of your other fighters to charge again.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be really cool to have the Gore Hulk with energy converter and just heal them every single time he attacks?
I mean, yes. I mean, I'm not saying that it is not. It's just a consideration. Like, you have to go in knowing that you're going to sacrifice. You're taking one ability off of one of your cards in favor of what you're gaining. So, like, this is definitely a kiss curse kind of deck where you gain some cool stuff, but you also might lose some cool stuff. So you just have to weigh whether or not the stuff that you're losing is better than this is worth what you're gaining.
Yeah.
So the deck that I picked, or the warband that I picked, is kind of an in between. It's a tweener. I picked Velmorn because it's a 5-fighter warband. They're already on one shield. They already want to kind of attack you and support each other anyway. So a lot of the movement cards that are in this deck allow them to position much better. And they like supporting attacks and stuff. So, and they gain extra supports whenever Velmorn actually has his command counter on him. So there's lots of ways to increase accuracy with this deck in conjunction with those cards. Yeah, that was the one that I picked. And then the other one that I think would do well would be probably the one that you're going to talk about next as far as hordes go. So I can just kind of leave that to you if you want.
No, by all means. Like, so, I mean, I'll give my little stance on it. The first thing that came to mind is what Trace will mention here in a second. But the second thing, I think I really like, the more and more I look at it, I want to play Gore Hulk with this deck.
Just Gore Hulk. Nobody else.
Just Gore Hulk. Like, but Drom, just think like Drom. So he's the last one that I void curse, right? So turn one, I make somebody charge, and then I can, like, there's so many positional things I think within this deck that I can really maximize my attacks. Yeah. Now I suck with 3-fighter warbands, so it'll probably fail miserably, but gosh darn it, I want to try it. Really, my wheelhouse probably would be pick a 4-fighter warband. I might even want to try Ideneth Deepkin, but Jerod won't let me say that because they're not commercially available. But I still think that I want to play them. But Trace, both you and I, we went to the first thought, and I did not build with it. But what was that?
This is, so we got a nice and new shiny Sepulchral Guard deck just recently. So being able to have some fighters that you can move with the Warden's action to get in position with your Void Cursed abilities. You can set up that nice, nasty Void Cursed Assault card. You get a free attack action going into your next action, like cool things like that. There's just lots of this. This is a very positional deck just to begin with, and having that additional way to get position with the Warden and with some of the other spicy attacks that they can dish out with Champion and Harvester and stuff like that. There's just a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, I think there's some play here. And I think I think I've said it already, like out of all the decks that we've gotten, this one has me most intrigued, but I think there's a lot to unpack here. And I can't wait to see the mad scientists that come up with the ability to use the Voidcursed Thralls, because it's the most unique deck that we've received so far. There's just a lot of hidden layers in it, and it's going to be awesome. So, with that, thank you for going on this adventure of the Condemned and the Cursed. We'll take a break and come right back to close out the show.
And we're back, and that will wrap up the 51st episode of the Battle Mallet podcast. We thank you for taking the time to listen. As per usual, you can find us on all of the podcasting platforms, so feel free to share. Our website is battle-mallet.com, and from there you can get to the blog, to the podcast, to listen to any other episodes that you've missed, and find our Nemesis library, which tends to be the most popular thing that we've created. We really appreciate all of the community deck submissions that we've gotten for that library. We really want it to just be a community resource. So if you have a Nemesis deck that you'd like to see featured on the library, please let us know. You can send us an email or find us on the Discord. You'll find links for all of that in the show notes and on our website, so that you don't have to try to remember an email address as I rattle it off right now. With that, I think community shout out wise, I do think we want to thank Mkrat. He added a link to the Nemesis deck library on underworldsdb.com, which is it's quite the honor, I think, to have a link off of his site. Yeah, so big thanks there.
Yeah, thanks.
He's building a great community resource for deck building, and so just to be able to be a part of that is a huge honor. Jason or Trace, you guys got any other happenings? Any other shout outs? If you're local, we have a Rivals tournament at the Games Workshop store up in North Raleigh on Saturday. It starts at 3.
Saturday the 10th starts at 5.
Starts at 5?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 5. It's single. It's Rivals single
round.
Single round or single. Best of 1. There we go. That's what I'm looking for.
That's the word. Yeah.
Best of 1, 3 rounds at the GW store. We got all the swag. If you are local, the league, we have it set up where even if you miss week 1, week 2, or any weeks, you can get some points up to 2 weeks of missed. Please come out and join the league. We've been meeting up every other Mondays, typically at Game Theory Wake Forest. Seems to be the home that we found for now. That's the kind of local shout outs. Nova is only 3 months away, not even. So get ready for that bad boy. Shout out to Zach Newcomb for going to a local and losing to his arch nemesis again.
Nice.
But,
so you got a pocket situation going on over there?
I think so.
Oh, that's rough. Been there. Done that. Should have made a t-shirt. Well, cool. Well, for the Battle Mallet podcast, we are 3 Voidcursed Thralls. I don't think there's any other way to put it. So this is Jerod signing out.
It's Trace signing out.
And I'm Jason Table New Murray. Get the hell out of here.
Peace.
Go Bills.
The Battle Mallet podcast is protected under the Creative Commons license. If you have further questions as to its use, you can find more information via links on podcast.battle-mallet.com. Music by Anno Domini Beats.
Let's pretend Jared's going to bed.
You guys just enjoy making this podcast without me.
Okay.
No, it's never happened. 51 episodes. You've never missed one.
That's true. All right, so here we are. We're going to go again. Or do we just go with this? I think we roll with it.
No.
This is episode 51 of the Battle Mallet podcast.
Welcome to the show.